Don't sneak up on me like that. I'm doing late night editing for the podcast that we just did about Kevin Durant returning to the Nets and being perfect, like a shining, bright, shining, beautiful angel. Gosh, don't scare me that way. The least you could do is smush the follow, smash the like to make up for that. It really startled me. Anyways, thanks, guys.
Welcome back to the Glue Guys. This is Mike here. Say hello, Brian.
Hello. Oof, I don't know.
Check us out on Twitter at BKGlueGuys, netsdaily.com, The Athletic. Get yourself behind that paywall, theathletic.com/glueguys. Apple Podcasts, 5 stars. Ratings, we have to have them. Brian.
Michael.
The Nets are back.
We did it.
You know who's back?
Yeah, who's back?
Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant.
It's a name. That's a name I've heard before. We looked pretty good out there tonight, Mike. Did you watch the game? Have you been watching the games?
How furious are you? I'm furious that he didn't play until what minute? Like the 5th minute or the 5-minute mark?
They rolled him out around 7:40 in the second.
So damn Netsian.
Yeah.
Just do the normal thing. Just put him out there.
Run
him out there 38 minutes. Let him get his win back under him.
We were watching. We were doing some Twitch streaming, and a prescient poster, Plasmac, theorized aloud in the chat that it was potentially due to the fact that Paul George and the Clippers had that gaffe early on in the season that they didn't manage his minutes, and by crunch time, Paul George was on the outside looking in, and he predicted that they were staggering the these precious minutes towards the end of the game. I thought it was a good take. I mean, we didn't need him because
an amazing take.
It was pretty good. And we did have like 30 straight minutes of garbage time, so we didn't end up needing it. Got a close look at some TLC action. I don't know. I looked at
2 for 13 from 3.
I looked at his March. Let's not do this because here's the thing.
Yeah, that's not. This pod's not about.
That's not what. That's right.
Kill and destroy.
Mike, I'm glad that we were going to pod maybe yesterday. We got busy. We might have had takes about LaMarcus Aldridge that wouldn't have aged well based on tonight's game. I still
think I may need to say that.
This is going to be the thing that we go.
Let's start with Kevin Durant.
Oh, okay.
Brian.
Sorry.
Let's not jump to LaMarcus.
Well, I just figured it's not news. He's Kevin Durant. He looked amazing. He hit all of his shots. He was perfect. It was awesome.
He was perfect.
Yeah.
He was a perfect human again.
I guess that's news, but that's what I expect. But I guess it's news. Fine.
Came in,
cover it.
Scored how many points? 17 points.
Yeah, like 100 points in 5 seconds.
Yeah. He had 7 rebounds and 5 assists. He almost had a quadruple double because he had 6 turnovers. And that would have been really. Do turnovers count as part of the number double?
Only if you're doing like an upside down version. If you're doing a Wario version of the.
What would be a Wario triple double? It would be.
That's turnover.
Foul out of the game.
Turnovers, 10 misses. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You would have to miss 10 straight shots. Something like that. That would be the. So it was not a Wario. It wasn't even a Waluigi. It was a Mario game. Our guy Kevin Durant was out there popping those turtle shells, eating mushrooms, and spitting out fireballs.
He could have been on shrooms. He could have been microdosing the way he was shooting tonight. It's possible.
As silly as we are right now, Brian, it's a real thing. To make a comeback, to play your first game back, and to take a charge from Zion Williamson. I think if we're going to be the biggest thing I saw tonight, if this is a new segment, the biggest thing I saw.
Okay.
The biggest thing I saw was that Kevin Durant took a charge from Big Z, which actually ended up being a blocking foul. But still, the thought was there.
It would have been better if he had taken the charge directly to the injured hamstring, just to prove how well it's mended, how it's perfectly fine. If he had just arranged his body to take all of Zion directly to the hamstring, that would have been better. But it's fine.
Can we rush out a hamstring specialist out to HHS practice center? Can we please? I think it's Dr. Riley Williams is the Nets chief physician.
You're trying to tell me that Riley doesn't know his hamstrings. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I know he knows his joints. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is he a soft tissue expert? I'm not challenging him. I'm just asking because the Nets have an extreme. There's a sickness.
Dating back to the Jeremy Lin ham ham fiasco, right? Is that, I mean,
Fiasco. The Nets hate their ham so much they must be Orthodox,
right?
You know,
Yeah, nice, good.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, hamstring. Come on, can we fix that issue? But anyways, Kevin Durant looked good, and you know, I want to kind of have this debate with you. This issue. I don't know if you've been seeing this discussion. Seems like the thing that is most talked about now about the Brooklyn Nets. This team has gone through so many waves of hot takes over the ESPN first take sort of saga. You know, it's like they're unbeatable and then they're bad. And they make the Harden trade. They're going to be terrible because how could you share the ball? They seem to be sharing the ball. Blake Griffin comes here. LaMarcus Aldridge comes here. The super team. And now that Harden is hurt, the concern is that this team won't be able to gel in time, that the big three will not have been able to play for enough games. Does it concern you? I'm not even saying does it concern you. What I want to know is there any amount of diminishment? Is there a diminishing effect because those guys won't be able to play together? Because I think there is. I'm not saying it's concerning, but I think there is a diminishing effect because they're not playing together.
I wanted to argue, but it sounds like we're on the same page here because, yeah, of course, I think that's like a if there's any questions, if we're building up a ESPN first take style, lower thirds of like questions for the Nets going into the postseason, it's definitely their lack of playing minutes together for sure. And it's a good meme, and it actually kind of makes the postseason that much more interesting because it's still like, there's a big article from The Ringer about, how the Nets are how Steve Nash is using the Nets currently as just like a, experiment in the regular season.
A lineup laboratory.
That's right. Yes, you've read it. You saw it.
Well, I don't even know if they use that phrase.
Yeah.
But how could you not alliterate? I know they said laboratory in there, so if they don't put lineup in there, then shame on those editors.
And the thing is, they're missing the basics. They don't have carbon. So it's just the foundations, because we don't know what our big three looks like when they play together. So these experiments are interesting and yielding great results, and I'm very confident. But at the same time, there's some very key core things missing from our knowledge base. I'm not worried about it again, but it would be nice to know. It'd be nice to know.
Yeah, I think it just means that the Nets are maybe going to lose one game in the playoffs, and then the rest will be three sweeps, and then maybe in the finals it will go to 5 games against the Lakers. I think maybe that's the diminishing effect. Yeah, so I like me. I'm a push back against the narrative type of person, a contrarian, some might call me.
Sure.
And I would never be called that in my life, but like I would like to say to you, not a big deal. Like, I don't think it's a big deal, but it does matter, right? Like, it matters that those 3 guys aren't playing on the floor. It's not even those 3 guys. It's like the rest of the team. The whole team hasn't had a chance to gel. Now, I don't know if a lot of teams have. If you look at the contenders across the entire NBA, the Sixers have had Embiid out of the lineup, and now he's back in. The Lakers obviously had Anthony Davis out of the lineup and LeBron out of the lineup. The Nuggets have had stability, but Jamal Murray has been bad to begin the year, bad off of what his normal standards were. And then they added Aaron Gordon. The team looks really good. We should probably take them seriously. The Clippers had some trades that moved guys in and out of the lineup. The Bucks have been pretty stable, but they even lost Drew Holiday for a bunch of games at one point. So like all the contenders, they've all had these things. Obviously the Nets, though, it's been bigger because it goes from you have KD and Kyrie. They trade for Harden. At one point, Kyrie goes on his sabbatical. Kevin Durant gets hurt with a hammy. He's out for, 6 weeks or something?
It was a long time. It felt like a long time.
And now Harden's out just as we were waiting for Kevin Durant to return. So it's a thing. I wouldn't freak out about it. Like, the one thing that this team has already proven is its flexibility. It is more flexible than a Russian gymnast, Michael. Oh, I said Michael. I'm like talking to myself right now. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, because you're in daddy mode. You've been talking to yourself. Dad, I won't bring it up.
Don't bring it up.
PTSD.
We're gonna talk. We need to talk LaMarcus Aldridge, as you said.
Oh,
I want to bring up a few other things, but you feel you're in a good place with Kevin Durant. I'm guessing after Are you surprised by the performance?
Gosh, no. I mean, I'm still the only thing I was like, why is he like on the exercise bike in the first quarter? It was concerning on superficial levels, but as soon as you see him, he's such a natural. It's just not. It's not a. He's not the guy I worry about with regards to rust, I guess.
You know what I love that the Nets are doing is that, and Steve Nash is the one that's vocalizing this, is that so when Harden gets hurt, they go if it was a playoff game, Harden would play, and they said that about Kevin Durant a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
They said if it was a playoff game, Kevin Durant would play, but we're being extra cautious. And then they got the additional MRI, and then that came up, with more injury than they thought. I like that phrase. I like a good phrase like that. Like that puts you in a frame where I'm like, okay, if it was a playoff game, I get it. I get that threshold of pain. I've actually seen some criticism of the Nets for how they're handling these injuries. I mean, this team is number one, the best team in the East right now, and they haven't had their full complement of talent.
Who?
So how could you be upset with how could you criticize what the Nets are doing in the situation?
Who's doing this? Who's doing these criticisms?
Just people.
Get him out of here. Chuck him.
Let's do this. Take a quick break. Coming back. Kyrie Irving appreciation. There's going to be some of that. LaMarcus Aldridge thoughts. And we'll mix him in with the rest of the Nets bigs.
Can I do a quick thing? I didn't spring this on you, and I know that you're about to go to. I know you're about to go to break because this is part of the break, though. Don't worry. I was tapped by big friend of the show, Matt Parker, who's running a very cool thing called Open Air Collective, and he wanted me to blast this out. It's a little mini spot for this thing. He'd asked me for it a month ago, and I've continued to forget about actually doing this. But it's I mentioned carbon early on in the show. This is a little bit about carbon. It's about how to reduce it. So basically, he is leading this kind of group that helps maximize impact for effort, how to everyone go out and do their part. And I thought it was a really cool thing. So I think everyone would be awesome if they checked out this Open Air Collective thing that he's got. Promised I would do it. You should do it. Where the fuck is the website?
What do you mean? What do you need the website for?
I can't find it. Did you not put the website
on
this thing?
You give out the URL?
The URL. Oh, God.
This is great. I'm going to leave all of this in.
Here it is.
It's embarrassing. Please put this up on the YouTube at least.
I will. OpenAirCollective.com. OpenAirCollective.com.
Well, that was a hard one. That was a hard one to pull out.
He had this giant link that's burying it. So
Say it again.
OpenAirCollective.com.
Oh.
OpenAirCollective.com. I promised I would do it, Mike. I know.
Are you sure it's .com?
.com. I don't want to layer in any more confusion into this. How will we edit this together? I don't know, but we'll see.
I'm gonna leave a bulk of it.
Yeah,
a hefty bulk.
Good. Anyways, now to your other commercials.
Good. And we're back. Brian, I want to do something here because you and I are about sharing feelings and giving appreciation to people that maybe don't get it as much as they should. And I'm going to do this now. I think Kyrie Irving deserves appreciation. Is he the Nets MVP? No.
Whoa. Wow.
But as much as we obsess over when's Kevin Durant going to come back, and he's back, or is James Harden the NBA MVP? Is he the MVP of the league? Which is totally valid and a great argument to have. Kyrie Irving's been amazing this year when he's played.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta add that caveat. He's having the best year of his career. You could quibble. I'm sure we could, you could go down the Basketball Reference, which I did.
Mm-hmm.
He's averaging more points than he's ever averaged in his career. He's third in assists so far this year in terms of his career. Best assist to turnover ratio. He's shooting like 7 threes a game on about 40%. Just a devastating offensive force. I think probably his best defensive season.
Yeah.
Not that I've been watching all those Cavs games, but I think he's been good. I just think to me, it's more of an indication of how much talent this team really has.
Yeah.
The fact that Kyrie's averaging 28 points a game and about 6 assists and about 5 rebounds, and no one cares. Just it has no effect on the greater NBA.
Yeah.
And it flies at the radar. I don't know if he's going to be second team or third team All NBA. I'm sure he won't. But just Kyrie Irving appreciation. He's incredible, and he had a dunk against the Pelicans
In like back-to-back games he's been dunking. Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking about this the other day, which is just that like we're such gluttons at the moment for talent and like just spectacular basketball that it's almost hard to kind
glutton
of
for pleasure.
glutton
for pleasure.
Sure.
Yeah, is that a little
Yeah, it's a little.
By the way, there's a
I'm
really
grossed out.
sorry to cut you, but there was a really good story on The Cut, which is part of the New York Magazine's brands of. There's a woman who interviewed the man who posted her feet onto like a foot fetish website. It's like a really fun. Speaking of glutton for pleasure, just read that.
There's a whole
I'll point you towards that.
a giant internet indexing system for celebrities' feet. Like it could be that your feet are on the internet in this. I'm not going to even name what the URL is.
My feet are.
It's possible. It's that how
Unless
that's
if people
how.
are. Unless if there's a whole subgroup just into like hairy toes, which
You're working with some Hobbit action.
sure there are. But this guy, this story, you should read it. This guy posted this writer's feet on that site. It's called wikifeet, or that's one
it.
of the
yeah,
places.
wikifeet. That's the repository.
And there's a restriction. This is amazing subculture. You have to have an IMDb page in order to post the person's foot.
So now LeBron can get up there finally because of Space Jam.
Space Jam 2.
Yeah.
But the woman, that journalist whose feet were posted on there without her knowing, she interviewed the guy who posted, and he was just not even brutally honest. It's not brutal. He was just open and honest about his love of feet. Yeah. So don't know why we're on that road, but we're here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think we were talking about gluttons of pleasure, and then you took us to wikifeet. So
just to see Brian's eyeballs go, let me grab that.
No, it was interesting that once we talked about gluttons of pleasure, your brain went to what I'm assuming is your foot fetish now. But anyways, yeah, so the thought that I was having was about how like it's really hard to just appreciate all the things all at once. Like, not just the top level play from our best players, but like imagine just watching 2 years ago or 3 years ago, watching ascendant play of Nick Claxton and Bruce Brown. It's impossible to imagine because it would be in a different situation. It's a different universe and but I'm just saying it's like there's so many good things happening simultaneously that it's sort of hard to even talk about it really. There's not a whole lot of pain points right now to talk from podcast, like as a podcaster. Like it's hard to, we used to be able to like dog Jarrett Jack for 50 minutes or whoever,
Jarrett Jack was a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, Darren Williams was the ultimate.
That was a lot of content, whole oceans of podcast content spilled.
I miss those. I miss that energy. That's the energy
those are spicy days. But there's nothing. What are we gonna like? We're talking about the fringes here. We're eking out like 5% more efficiency at most with this team because everything is clicking. Which leads me to LaMarcus Aldridge, which
Perfect.
is
look at that.
Which is
that's why I got us on feet.
Right. Right. Perfect.
Big toed LaMarcus.
Which is vacillating for me. I don't think I have enough information to know whether this is going to work. But I will say I'm fairly surprised and or shocked at how heavy the DNP hammer has fallen on DeAndre Jordan. I mean, that came down like a ton of bricks. And I guess I just wasn't expecting it. I just thought it would be a slow phase out, but it was the guillotine is what he got.
Yeah. The D in DeAndre's for DNP. I mean, it's
you're on en fuego aura.
That's embarrassing. Yeah. So DeAndre Jordan. What's interesting is Seth Partnow from The Athletic, who used to be the head of analytics for the Milwaukee Bucks, he does a weekly sort of analytical look around at the NBA, and one of his things was about LaMarcus Aldridge, and Seth went in skeptically about the Nets signing LaMarcus Aldridge. He said specifically, guys like LaMarcus Aldridge, teams trying to figure out whether that person is useful ends up being more of a negative than even the positive they find out that he is useful. Like the juice isn't worth the squeeze. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, of course.
Gosh, sorry. But so, and Seth at this point, in the 10 games before LaMarcus arrived, Nick Claxton the favorite son of Brooklyn. He was getting 21 minutes per game. His effective field goals percentage was 58%, and the Nets were outscoring opponents by 17 points per 100 possessions with Claxton on the floor. And in the first three games of Aldridge's arrival, which I think was before this current game, Claxton had just gotten 13 minutes. So his minutes dropped by 8 minutes per game. And all of that was coming with the DNP DeAndres that we were seeing. To bring it back to your point, that the Nets just have like this like amazing palace of pleasures on the basketball court where we have to kind of get angry about small things. I'm not even going to say I'm getting angry about Aldridge. I'm kind of still holding on to my original take, which is I'm a little concerned, and that's all. My concern is rooted in the fact that, I mean, the guy, what did he have today? He had like 20 points or something.
Yeah.
And hyper efficient. I still think I'm a little worried about the amount of shots he's putting up for someone who the best version of Marcus Aldridge on this team is if the ball swings to him and he's wide open in the mid range, sure, take it. But don't do like the back down muscle post up moves. Like, I don't want to see that, but he's been good. So to be upset about LaMarcus Aldridge is like, I am dumb for doing that. Because he's been good.
Yeah, I would say like even in the worst case scenario, and again I've kind of moved off of worst case scenario. Even if there was a worst case scenario, the consequences are not that grave. That's basically it. Like, he's not, unfortunately, despite how amazing that take was, he's not going to be the muscle anal canal that like you can I meant to say anal canal, like where you shoot them like into the anus of the Death Star. but I said anal canal.
Back to the yeah, but you just need to put the Death Star before you
the missile anal canal. Yeah. I botched it. What do you want from me? Like, I'm not a perfect person. It's
this
late.
Show,
it is sloppy. This is sloppy work.
What
here.
are we? I mean, we had 3 open.
It's 10. It's 10:44. I mean, what are you gonna do?
We're talking about foot fetishes.
Who's we? Who's we? We.
I.
Yeah.
And you're talking about anal canals, which is fine.
It's not just anal canals of the Death Star, which we compared to LaMarcus Aldridge.
We did,
very unfairly. But that's what I'm saying is that's the weakness. What is it? The missile thing where they shoot the womp rat sized missile thing. It's 10:45.
Jalen Urso's flaw.
Yeah.
Jalen Urso put that in the design.
He does not have the ability to be that big of a flaw, unfortunately. Or fortunately, I should say. I don't think that he's like a glaring enough weakness that you can target LaMarcus Aldridge and like have that be a way to eke out wins. It's just, it ain't it. That's not going to be the way to do it.
I guess my final test to prove me completely wrong, which he's already proving me completely wrong. I think he listens to our show and he hates me. He's motivated by my takes. I think the final flaw is, or the final test is like when Harden is back and KD and Kyrie and Harden are all playing together, then how many shots does LaMarcus Aldridge take? How much of the offense does he take up? Because that's just like, you kind of want those 3 guys to shoot the ball all the time. And if they're not shooting the ball while they're on the floor, Joe Harris should be putting up threes. The kind of thing I always liked about DeAndre is that he never cared about getting the ball. Never. And as much as like people on Nets Twitter love to like bash on DeAndre Jordan, which again, I don't really get, because he's part of the reason why KD and Kyrie are here. Now, you could say that the reason why he's here is because of them, but I think the Nets' willingness to give DeAndre Jordan $10 million a year is part of why they feel comfortable about being here. He just never wanted the ball, and I enjoyed that. So I just wonder if LaMarcus Aldridge is not going to want to hold the ball, but he's been incredible. He's been efficient.
Yeah, when he's had the ball, it's worked out good. For the most part.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean it's really like an extra whole layer of spacing. It's pretty slick.
It's a different weapon. Mm-hmm. Like, and it's the funny thing to think about is where we were obsessing over the Bruce Brown at center thing earlier in the year, and because he was occupying a space on the floor that just wasn't being utilized, like just no one was kind of cutting to the basket and doing what he was doing. LaMarcus Aldridge is that too, but way bigger, and he's just operating I mean, actually, the Nets are probably one of the best mid-range shooting teams because KD is the best mid-range shooter, if not Bradley Beal is.
And Kyrie is pretty elite there too as well.
Kyrie's amazing, and Harden just doesn't do it, which that's why
if you can call a floater a mid-ranger, I don't know, you could get away with it.
Yeah, that's true. But it is a tough thing. I'm going to continue to monitor. You know, there was a moment in the game, I think it was early in the third quarter. I don't know if the Nets were running a zone, but for some reason, LaMarcus Aldridge was at the top of the key guarding Lonzo Ball. And like he was like guarding him. It wasn't just like he was standing up straight and hoping that Lonzo Ball would pass. Like he was like in a defensive position, ready to guard. The thing I am concerned about, if we're going to be concerned cops, Nick Claxton. You know, Nick Claxton, I want him to get a lot of minutes. He got minutes in this game. This game was a blowout. That's something I'm going to be monitoring. I want Nick Claxton to get minutes. But then again, it's a situation. We didn't even talk about Blake Griffin.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say this, if I can just piggyback off of what you were saying. I can't remember which game it was, maybe 2 games ago. Not Charlotte. Maybe it was Charlotte. I don't know. We were struggling. It was in the loss. I do believe it was in the game that we lost. Who did we lose to? I can't even remember. They're all blending together.
Who did the Nets lose to? I don't even remember anymore.
The Bulls.
Yes.
The Bulls. During that Bulls game, they were running a lot of LaMarcus and Blake Griffin together. They did that a little bit tonight, and I have noticed that I don't like those minutes as much. I think that that's where, you know, staggering, you know, putting LaMarcus with Bruce Brown or heckin' Alizé Johnson or whatever, and then Blake Griffin.
Alizé's got something.
Alizé's definitely got something to him. And then, you know, Blake Griffin with his Nick Claxton. They need that adrenochrome. They need to sap some life from the young people around them in order for it to click. Because if they're just going to be crusty together, it's a crust overload. We all OD on the crust. So they do need a little bit of
sourdough.
It's a sourdough.
Sourdough bread.
It's a sourdough.
It's a tough one to get through.
And
once you get through the crust, I mean, I like the crust, but once you get through the crust, it's good. But the crust can be overwhelming sometimes.
Really? You get overwhelmed by sourdough crust?
Sometimes, yeah. I have soft teeth.
That is soft. To not get through a loaf of bread. That is dangerous. You should get that looked at. But yeah, anyways, I just remember thinking, like, have it in a note somewhere that, like, I don't like LaMarcus Aldridge with Blake Griffin that much. I think that that's a little bit, you know, a little bit slow and plodding, and they're trying to go to their back-to-the-basket game more often than I would like when they play together for some reason. So that's my big criticism. We're zeroing in on, like, the 3% thing here, whereas everything else is working so super well for this team.
Yeah, I think was it that specific lineup that Steve Nash said something like, "We tried it and I don't like it." I think it was two bigs lineup.
That's amazing because I hadn't seen that quote, and that makes me feel like connected to Steve Nash in a new way. You know?
Yeah, he specifically said, I don't know if it was the Blake LaMarcus lineup, but and people were probably yelling like it was, but there was some lineup where they're running out 2 bigs. LaMarcus Aldridge is one of them, but he was basically like, I don't like what happened. I don't like how that looked.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think Blake Griffin's been better. This is what I hoped Blake Griffin would be. This version, you know, defensively, he's not as switchy and fun as I wanted, but like what, you know, he doesn't have that athleticism that he used to have. I mean, what are you going to do? It is going to be an interesting lineup. Let me ask you this question.
Forget about it.
My whole take at the beginning of all of this chicanery that the Nets were going through, trying to figure out their center, before Blake got on the team, before LaMarcus got on the team, and maybe the Nets were hunting Andre Drummond, was that it just gives Steve Nash pitches, right? The old Mike Mussina parable. I don't know if parable. I don't think parable is the right word.
It's parable. It's a parable. A fable, even.
Do the Nets need a more exact center rotation going into the playoffs? Meaning, not just like, hey, Steve Nash, you can throw a bunch of pitches. Like one game, it could be 20 minutes of Blake and 20 minutes of LaMarcus, and then 8 minutes of KD at the 5. And the next game, it's Nick Claxton and Jeff Green. Do you think the Nets need a firm big man rotation, or can we still be Mike Mussina? Can we still be throwing a bunch of different pitches?
I'm open to the idea that the talent level on this team is such that we can continue to be malleable. I kind of like it. It's interesting. I grew up. Let me take you way back. I have Anthony Morrow behind me. Let me take you even further back behind that. This is for the YouTube people, the podcast people can't see Anthony Morrow behind me.
Yeah, Brian literally has a picture of Anthony Morrow behind him.
Just to commemorate, I think for every pod, I'm going to have a new guy back here, just for the heck of it. But back in Byron Scott's Nets coaching days, I remember you were able to like set your watch by when Lucius Harris would come in with 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. It was like a Swiss train. He was coming in. Kerry Kittles was getting spelled. That was happening, and it didn't matter who you were playing. That was the first man off the bench. That is not how Steve Nash coaches. It doesn't seem. It seems like he is. The starting lineup has been pretty malleable. Every part of the lineup has been a sort of abstract, a Jackson Pollock painting of. I don't know. I've run out of analogies. No, it's something there, right?
Literally, I don't know where else. It is Jackson Pollock.
Yeah, he's just feeling it out, And I actually, because we're winning, I like it. If we weren't winning, that would be a big problem. But so far, so good, And if we get to the playoffs and that continues to be like, or if we get like we face some uphill battles. And, it seems to be because of matchup problems or something like that. I don't know. I kind of trust him just to know, like, to put in the right people at the right time right now. I have a lot of faith in Steve Nash's, in-game rotation adjustments as present. I mean, again, we saw the Bulls loss, and that was like, one of 2 losses or whatever in the last 2 months. So the track record has been pretty good. And he immediately, just as you're telling me right now, assuaged my concerns by saying I didn't like the one thing that everyone saw that they didn't like. When was it ever been where Lionel Hollins or Kenny Atkinson or friggin' PJ Carlissimo was like, we shouldn't be playing Andre Blatch and Reggie Evans together for 45 minutes. That shouldn't happen, but that's what was happening back then.
There's just like an amazing. They're winning a bunch of games, so like it's easy to do these things. It's easy to change roles and change starting lineups and give people minutes and take minutes away from people when you're winning. It is rare though to do that. I mean, the reason why coaches have the Swiss Army watch or the Swiss train, the Lucius Harris minutes are exact, is because players like that. Coaches like it and players like it. They like consistency. They like knowing when they're going to be on the floor, with who they're going to be on the floor. They like that. Most people like consistency in their life. The Nets are completely inconsistent in a good way. Like you're saying, it's like Steve Nash just doesn't, he will try something. He will have a lineup out there. Like there was like an Alize Johnson, Blake Griffin. I think LaMarcus Aldridge was there too tonight in the Pelicans game.
I like the way you're describing that like it's like a dream. I think LaMarcus Aldridge was there. Alize Johnson showed up.
They showed up and
we were at the mall.
Like,
I don't know.
Floaties and like they're like, "Want to get in the pool?" I was like, "Yeah, let's get in the pool." And then we ate hoagies.
Yeah.
We just ate hoagies.
It's crazy.
It was amazing.
It's a crazy dream.
Then we talked about pork rolls and we said Taylor ham or pork roll. We had that conversation and it's kind of weird. Trenton, that's where you have to get them. Anyway, so yeah, I just. You and I think, are the same in this way. We hate rigidity in our coaches.
Yes.
Lionel Hollins' era, as much as it was
that was a rigid era.
It was rigid. And so like Nash is bringing. I just do wonder in the playoffs, there's going to be a benefit to having a consistent rotation, and the Nets have so much talent, so many guys who can contribute on the floor. That they can have a pretty big bench in the playoffs. But if you just think about the minutes, if KD, Kyrie, and Harden are all healthy, they're going to get 35 to 38 minutes a game in the playoffs. And then, Joe Harris is probably going to get 32. And then you're basically left with like some Bruce Brown, some LaMarcus Aldridge, some Blake. Like it's like there's just not that many more places to go for minutes distribution. And I just wonder what they're going to do.
Well, if they do tighten up that rotation, I feel pretty good about our depth in that situation. Like I feel good about our next man up carousel.
One last thing.
Okay.
Are the Nets going to win the championship?
Dude, I see it. I'm feeling it. But really, what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to stay present, Mike. I'm just trying to, feel all the feelings as they wash over me. Yeah, that's my goal as I go into every game. Just try to really be focused and stay present.
Have you looked at the NBA standings recently?
I've dipped in and out. Yeah, I probably saw it yesterday morning, maybe. Why? What's there?
Right now, the Nets are still number one. They're half game above the 76ers. As we're recording this, I don't know if the 76ers are playing tonight, which could alter that or not, but the Nets are number one team in the East. The 8th and 9th seeds, because that would be the play-in potential. Knicks, Pacers, 8th, 9th.
I heard that the play-in got complicated, and that's all I heard. And I was like, will Mike explain this to me? Do I need to actually go read about this? How complicated is it?
It's so easy.
Is it complicated? No.
No, well, yeah, actually, I was about to explain. I'm like, there's so many things I have to tell you. 7 plays 10, 8 plays 9.
7 plays 10, 8 plays 9.
Okay,
so wait. First of all, season ends.
Season ends.
For everybody
so
else.
Stops.
Yeah.
The schedule stops. So then who's ever at 7.
And then everyone's watching this. Like the playoffs haven't started. Like we're all just going to sit around and watch this play-in tournament. We're
all going to get together.
Okay.
It's going to be like League of Legends. We're just all going to get together and watch this moment. Is that a thing? Is that a cool reference? Is that what the kids do these days?
Very cool. Incredibly.
Thanks. 7-10 plays a game. If the 7 seed wins the game, they move on. If they lose, they get to play another game against the 10. The 10 has to win 2 games.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I'm already screwing this up. The 7 and 8 seeds just have to win 1 game.
Okay.
The 9 and 10 seeds have to win 2
games.
To move on.
And that's it. That's the whole tournament.
It's a whole kit and caboodle, as they say.
Wow. Shame on your family if you're the 7th seed and you lose 2 straight to that 10th seed. Shame.
That would be exciting. Do you consider that a playoff run? If you are the 7th seed and you lose in the play-in, are you considered a playoff team? You get to say you were a playoff team.
I wonder just what. Sorry, I'm just gonna blow right past that conversation. I
can't wait. Did you watch Kong v Godzilla? By the way,
I did not. I haven't checked in on that yet.
It's so good.
Is it?
Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm wondering how much of an effect that is. So if you're a 7th seed or an 8th seed who just eked out you lost that first game, then won your second game, you just played 2 games, and then we're going right into the playoffs. That's like 2 extra playoff games right before the first round, which you are playing your least favored matchup. It's like a pretty big advantage for that 1st and 2nd seed, I feel like.
Yeah, and that's why it would be a good, and particularly this year, it's really important to be a 1 or 2 seed, because if you're the 3 seed, now, I think, so how the standings are right now, and they're going to shuffle around before the season ends. The Nets are number 1, Sixers number 2, Bucks number 3, Hawks, the 4th seed, Hornets are 5, and they're hobbling. They are the hobbling Hornets. Miami Heat, who are also kind of hobbling too, they're 6. So, if you're the Nets, it is a competitive race. They've got 3 games up on the Bucks, who are the 3 seed. But you don't want to enter in the territory. I just don't want to be in Heat territory. Even though the Celtics are a potentially semi-scary team, they really just haven't been that good this year. And the Heat have been good and then the bad. But you just don't want to you just don't want to face the Heat in the first round. You just don't really want to.
Not after coming off the finals. You don't want that.
That's it. That's our show.
Great. I think we did good. I mean, it got a little hairy there for a second, but we pulled it back.
Like my feet.
Nice. Way to tie it together. Well done. Mike, do you think people, if they went to netsdaily.com, that they would find NBA content in the Nets realm plus our podcast?
Yeah, they would find thered be a bundle of content, really. It'd be a bundle. It's sort of like a triple play that Comcast could sell you.
If they went to the athletic.com and they looked at our podcast, would they find it there and maybe join and get a subscription behind the paywall?
Yeah. So if you went to theathletic.com/glueguys, you'd get this podcast ad free. So you don't have to hear me talk about
God knows
the ad stuff that I talk about, which I like talking about because I like reading ads.
Dude.
But you also get, let me tell you one thing that just came out today on Wednesday. You're not a big NFL guy, are you?
I know literally nothing about it.
Okay, so the NFL draft is the end of this month, and Dane Brugler, who is the Athletics NFL draft guru,
Big Dane Brugler.
he came out with his draft guide that is called The Beast. It's 300 pages of pure NFL draft analysis. You get to learn things like, what did Trevor Lawrence's mom do? You know, he would put that in there. Like, she ran track at NC State. Not that I don't know that that's not what she did, but that's an example of.
I think I mean like do for a living. I mean, like do. Yeah.
That is also in there. Yeah.
Wow.
That, like, what were they a college athlete is a big theme. Like their parents, you know, bloodlines.
Oh, jeez.
Weird. Netflix show. Anyways.
Jeez, this is bad.
Yeah, sorry. So it's really great. And if you're an Athletic subscriber, which you could be, you can just jump in. I think I don't know what the price point is right now, but if you go to that URL, theathletic.com/glueguys, you're gonna get a special offer.
Fair to say it's a heck of a price, right? Fair to say.
Yeah. it's as much as a box of Kleenex.
At
if you
BK
a couple box of Kleenex. Yeah.
At BK Glue Guys on Twitter. Discord invite in the bio. Join us for game time. It pops off. I don't need to, it just pops right the heck off. Anyways, Mike, thanks for joining me.
Glad to be here.
Maybe we'll see you next time. Who knows? Maybe this is the last time I ever see you.
That'd be a tragedy.
That would be sad. I'm sorry. I felt bad even saying that. That's not how I feel. Bye, Mike. Love you.
Godzilla v Kong. It's really good.
Okay.
Don't worry about the facts. Okay, don't worry about the facts of the movie. Just watch the movie. Watch a big ape punch a big lizard. It's so much fun.